chapter 7, scheduled incarnations with specific functions. So, a very wonderful chapter that we are discussing. So, let's do some invocation prayers and then we can get into the discussing the chapter for the next 1 hour or so. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bangum Langayate Grim Yatkripatamahamam Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Shri Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for this Saturday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. I'm hoping most of you have finished with the Mangalarti and your chanting. Chanting goes on through the day. Okay. So what we will do is this particular chapter, we will take it. There's a wonderful reference that I always like to start with the Bhagavad Shubodhini. It's got a lot of details, very easy to understand. So let me see if I can open Bhagavad Shubodhini and I'll share my screen. And when we start off our discussion, we can just one moment. Prabhu, if you can give me permission to share the screen.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, hoping my screen is visible. So we are here discussing the 7th chapter, which is scheduled incarnations with specific functions. Now, if you see inside this, there are 3 or 4 subsections that we have. Basically, we have covered major part of this. Tirtha Chaitanya Prabhu was discussing it last week. So he was talking about the various Gunavataras, Leelavataras, and so on. We'll take a bit of a stab at what are these. And then today we'll actually start off with the second part of this, which is going to be about specifically about Lord Krishna's pastimes. Okay, and if you see the chapter is entitled Why the Lord Appears, right? Not just what the Lord appears as, but what is it that he appears to do. So we'll take some of those examples. Most of the Leela we should already be knowing, but we'll try to briefly touch upon it. We'll not go into too much of detail there. Then of course we'll try to understand who can understand the Lord or who cannot understand the Lord and what is required for that. We'll also compare Lord Brahmaji talking to Narad Muni on fundamental glory of Bhakti Yoga compared to the other processes. And he ends this particular chapter along with the previous 2 chapters. If you or devotees who remember the previous 2 chapters, we discussed about the Lord being the cause of all causes and also the Purusha Sukta prayers. These 2 along with today's chapter, and he's concluding these 3, the summary to Narad Muni. So we'll see what is the conclusion, what is he talk about. Okay, so this is the flow for devotees who have got this reference of Shubodhini. It makes it easy to understand. I will go shloka by shloka in the um, from Veda base. So we'll go there in a bit. So before, okay, let me jump in here. So far, we have discussed quite a few details, right, on the incarnations, correct? So we spoke about Varaha Dev, we spoke about the son of Prajapati, Suyagna, then Kapila Dev, Dattatreya, the 4 Kumaras, Naranarayan Rishi, Krishna Garbha, Ritu Maharaj, Rishabdev, Hayagriva, Matsya, Kurma, Narsimadev, Hari, Lord as Hari himself, then Vaman Dev, Hamsavatara, Manvantara, Dhanvantri, Parashuram, and lastly, we concluded with Ramachandra, right? I know Tirtha Prabhu did cover a bit of Krishna and Balram. We will again restart there. But this is where uh, kind of overall we summarized with was the first 25 shlokas with Lord Ramchandra. And every time we hear about a particular incarnation of the Lord, right? When we concluded, we said, however powerful a living being may be, when he's condemned by God, no one can save him. And similarly, however weak one may be, if he's protected by the Lord, no one can annihilate him. The most powerful shloka that says, Rake Krishna Mareke, Mare Krishna, Rakeke. If Krishna decides to protect you, who can harm you? If Krishna decides to annihilate you, there is no one or nothing that can give you any kind of a protection, right? So we have seen till here. Now I have a simple question. We have seen the various avatars. So the fundamental question we'll try to answer: what is an avatar, right? So any devotee wants to unmute themselves, the permission is there. Please go ahead. Otherwise, I can probably continue with the flow. I can talk about it as well. Okay. So I'm not sure if you're able to unmute. So let me continue.
I just gave the permission to unmute. Can you come again,
Okay.
please?
Yes. If any devotee wants to tell what's an avatar, we have heard about 25 shlokas. We have heard about, I think, 22, 20. No, we have heard about 20
Hare
avatars so
Krishna
far.
Prabhuji, is it as incarnation?
Yes. What is an incarnation?
Sorry.
No, it's correct. So incarnation or avatar, it's very common, right? So we keep talking about avatar. So we should know what is an avatar.
It is one of your God's energy, internal energy, Prabhuji.
Very interesting. Okay. It's an internal energy of God. Okay. This, okay. I'll probably clarify that. Anyone
Thank you.
else wants to try? Thank you, Mataji. Anyone else wants to try? Okay. Avatara means in simple, the very word avatar means coming down. So when the Lord comes down from his Vaikuntha position, from his Goloka position, he comes down into the material world to perform certain activities. He is referred to as an avatar. Okay, avatar or the incarnation's basic definition means coming down, coming from his original position to an other position. So basically, the avatars are classified into six types or six kinds of avatars. Okay. Um, Not going too much into detail, but it's good to know. It's actually important as well to know because we have already seen about a bit of creation, and the rest of the details that we will see across the second and the third canto is a lot to do with these avatars. And starting from third canto, when we have Varaha Devan, then Kapil Devan, all the other incarnations, it's all going to be about details of these. So let's establish what are the kinds of avatars, right? The first kind of avatar is called the Purusha avatar. Okay, Purusha avatars, the common ones, the three Purushas that we know. Your Karnodaksha Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and the Shirodakasha Vishnu. Okay, these avatars basically are the Supreme Lord coming in contact with the material world or establishing the material world. He's not being influenced by it. We'll clarify that end of this chapter that we are discussing right now. So Purusha avatars basically are the causes. So he is in the causal ocean, he is the cause of this material creation, he is in Garbhodaka ocean, he is the cause of the universe, and he is in Kshirodaka, Vishnu in the Kshirodaka ocean, he is the cause for all the incarnations, and he comes as the Paramatma as well. Okay, for the details, we will again read more. The most common avatara that we know are the Leela avatars. This is the second kind of avatars. Leela or specific pastime. Leela means pastime. So he comes, performs a specific pastime and goes back. Like your Kurma, your Matsya, your Naranarayan Rishi, Dattatreya, the Hamsavatara, whatever we saw so far, right? So most of them can be classified under the Leela Avatara aspect of it. Okay. Why does the Lord come to do certain pastimes? We all know, right? He comes Yuge Yuge, Paritranaya Sadhuna, Vinashaya Dushkrita. Leela Avataras basically stick to this concept of he comes to protect the devotees, protect a certain devotee for a certain reason, and also to annihilate the demoniac mentality or the demons, right? So he comes as Varahadev, he annihilates Hiranyaksha and he protects Mother Earth. Meanwhile, he gives protection to all the demigods. So we will actually see that when we start off the third canto and so on. So these are Leela avatars. The most common avatars that we actually know or usually refer to are the Leela avatar. Then obviously all of us know there are the three gunas, right? Sattva, Rajo, and Tamo gunas, right? Goodness, passion, and ignorance. So he comes as guna avatars. He empowers certain living entities, in this case, to actually take care of the gunas. Like Lord Brahma takes care of passion, Lord Shiva takes care of the mode of ignorance, tamoguna, and Vishnu himself takes care of the sattva guna or the mode of goodness. Okay. Then in each of the manus, sometimes he takes a position of the manu himself. On each of the manus also he comes. This is called the Manvantara Avatara, right? So we had Yagna as the Manvantara Avatara in the Swayambhu Manu or the first Manu. We had Vamana, if I'm right, in the current seventh Manu. We have Rishabdev, who will actually be he's one of the Manvantara Avataras and so on. So there are quite a few Avataras that come specifically for the, and the Lord obviously tells he comes Yuge Yuge. So there's also the Yuga Avataras. Very famous. Each of the four yugas has an avatara tied to it. Like for Satya Yuga, the Lord comes in white color. In the Treta Yuga, he comes in a certain color. As Yagna, he comes in red color. Sometimes he's blackish, uh, and so on, right? So, for example, this particular Kali Yuga, he comes in the golden avatar, the avatar of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the fifth kind of avatar, which is your Yuga avatar. The sixth avatar are the uh, fundamentals of empowering someone to actually um, do a certain activity. In These are called the empowered avatars or the Shakti Avesh avatars, sometimes referred to as Avesh avatars. Shakti Avesh avatars, if you look at Vyasadev, is empowered to he's the literary incarnations like this. He's empowered to write the literatures. Okay. Specific jivas, they are empowered with the potency of the Lord. Many a times we refer to Lord Parashurama or Narad Muni also being the Shakti Avesh avatars. The Kumaras are again some of the common devotees, or he empowers Prithu Maharaj. Right, when Prithu Maharaj is born, he's an empowered entity. We'll see that in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right, so these are the six kinds of avatars when the Lord appears. Now, um, we know what is an avatar. We also know what are the types of avatars. Let me, before we go into today's shloka, today's discussion, also answer one more important question. How do I identify an avatar? Anyone can be an avatar. There can be avatar among us today. So how do I identify an avatar? It's highly possible, right? So someone comes and says that I am God. I am incarnation of God, right? The most common that I have to kind of quote in almost all these classes is all these classes that talk about Avtara is because my house is right next to matlab, probably 100 meters away from what we call as the Kalki Mandir, and there used to be a person who would claim himself to be Kalki, and when questioned as to why is he Kalki, or why is he come earlier, because Kalki is supposed to come end of Kali Yuga, he's like, I can't see the suffering of you people. I have come early. I am Vishnu myself. Right. So there could be such people who will come and claim to be an avatar. There could be instances where we don't believe that a certain avatar is avatar. He or she might be going through situations. Oh, how can this person be an avatar? How can Vyasadeva, who has been crying, he's written all this, compiled all the Vedas, he's written Mahabharata, there's so much of gambling and cheating and everything that is there. Who is Vyasadeva an avatar? So if such doubts come to us, how do we clarify? We could be positively thinking someone is an avatar who is not, or negatively thinking about an avatar. So that's also important to know. right? So first thing is the pramana of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. We should be very clear that it is coming from authorized Shastras through the Guru Parampara and confirmed by the Gurus that we have. Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. We should be very clear with that. If someone comes to you tomorrow and says that, oh, you know what, I am God, you can challenge that person if you are really having the capacity. Okay. Our simple understanding is don't worry too much. If it's not mentioned in the Shastras, then you don't need to surrender to that person, right? So you should be very clear on that. You can always stick to the Guru Parampara because even if the so-called Avatara has come ahead of his time, we don't need to actually worry too much. The simple thing is Lord Krishna establishes the Shastras and he actually follows it as well. So if you actually tell the person who's claiming to be an avatar to show me your Virata Rupa, he might actually show you something and you might think it's the Virata Rupa because we don't even know. We have only read about the Virata Rupa. We don't know really how it looks, right? We can claim, ask that person to lift the Govardhan hill, like, would be powerful mystic and show you something that can completely bewilder you. So if it's not there in the Shastra, not Pramana of the Guru and the Parampara and the Sadhu, so it's comfortable to be staying away from it. Okay, so this is the fundamentals of the avatars. What's an avatara? What are the types of avatara and how to identify an avatar? If you're clear with this, we'll conclude it with what we have already seen in the first canto, right? Etesha amsha kala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indra Rivyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. So Etecha amsha kala, right? Amsha the plenary portions, kala is the portions of the plenary portions. So the expansions, basically all these avatars are coming from who? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. It's Swayam coming from Lord Sri Krishna himself. Okay. So all these avatars that we have seen so far, about the 18, 19 avatars that we have already discussed, these are all expansions or expansions of the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. Okay. We are clear with this background. Now we will see what happens when the Supreme Lord himself comes, right? Many pastimes, like I said, we already know. We'll briefly touch upon these and we'll also try to understand how is it connected? Why should I know? Right? That's the answer that we will try to get to today. Okay. So as we start reading, as we start scrolling through this shlokas, let's actually do the invocation prayers, praying to the Guru Parampara, which will help us understand this. Okay. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahim Dadati Swapadanti Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapatakabalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Saji Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Tamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्ण. We will start reading. We have a good 25, 27 shlokas to go. We'll quickly go on. Uh, as we need to discuss a few things, we will discuss. Okay. When the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of the kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with his plenary portion. The Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair, and just to expand his transcendental glories, he acts extraordinarily no one can properly estimate how great he is. The Lord with the beautiful hair, Lord Shri Krishna. I mean, how can we forget the beautiful darshan that we can get in the Vrindavan temple of Krishna Balram, right? So beautiful, beautiful black hair, that's flowing hair, right? So that Lord appears. Why does he appear? To diminish the distress of the world. Okay. Is that the only purpose? We already saw, right? So we already saw that when the Lord appears, he's Lord Krishna himself, right? All attractive. So there's more attraction. Unlike the other avatars that we have seen, there is a lot more fun because he does things that are not normally done. He does things that are not normally easy to understand. Okay. No avatar comes and breaks the pot of butter, runs away with the monkeys, right? He's dancing on the hoods of the Kalia or playing around with the Gopa boys and the Gopa girls, right? So you don't put hands around Narsimadev and walk around, right? So other avatars don't probably give this sweetness that is there with the avatar of Krishna Balaram. Along with all the attraction, all the sweetness, all the fun that is coming, also there is a lot more mercy that comes with this avatar. Everything is more in this avatar, right? Everything is unlimited from these avatars that we are going to see today. Okay, so we will see some of the fundamental pastimes here. There is no doubt about Lord Krishna, Lord Krishna as being the supreme Lord. Otherwise, how was it possible for him to kill a Jain demon like Putana when he was just on the lap of his mother, or overturn a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old, or to uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky when he was only crawling? All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. Not many avatars. In fact, none of the other avatars other than Lord Ramachandra has this complete, the Purna avatars as we call, right? Doing pastimes right from childhood to as the age grows. At every age or every instant, there is some pastime that is being done to attract people of that particular age. Okay. Now, what I will quickly also do is while we are discussing this, I will also try to touch upon very, very important concept. That is when Lord kills the demons, what is it that we actually need to understand as well, right? For example, when we feel that am I being cheated by a false guru? Am I not getting connected properly? You hear to the pastimes of Putana actually goes away. So all these demons that the Lord kills, they are some way or other also connected to the anarthas in us that can be removed, or the demons represent these anarthas. Krishna actually kills them. And many times the acharyas mention that when you read a particular pastime, the Lord, typically these pastimes where in he's actually annihilating the demons, you know, that anartha in you also is getting destroyed, right? So it's very nice. So again, go back to 10th canto, read about these wonderful pastimes because they're very easy to read. They are not very difficult. And also the, like I said, the falastuti or the benediction or the glory of reading this is the killing of the anarthas that these demons also represents, like Putana represents the pseudo guru. The Shakatasura, the cart demon, he represents the burden of cartload of gold and, you know, bad habits that we are carrying. Also represent the lethargy and, you know, all the unnecessary things that we are carrying. So we have, I have, some of us might also have, right? So, the devotees here can also have issues with some of the old habits or the habits that we have developed over a period of time that we are not able to get away from. In simple, some of the habits like I want to know what is the latest score that's happening. Uh, I get a lot of this because I was so addicted to watching cricket and football. I mean, any sport for that matter. My parents used to say, any monkey on TV that's got a ball in their hand, you go and watch it. So I was like that. I would read a lot about it, unnecessary bad habits. So when we read about Shakatasura, we actually are killing those bad habits. Is it destroyed in me? that's a different story, but each of you can try. That's the benediction that is given from reading. So the third one, obviously, we know what pastime it is. It's mentioned twice. So in this case, we'll talk about the Manikriva Nalakuvara, this particular pastime when the Lord actually is tied to the um, uh, by Mother Yashoda in the in the Damodar Leela. He's tied to the wooden piece. So he actually goes and he actually breaks down the Yamala Arjuna trees that are carrying these two people who are cursed by Narad Muni, right? So that's the pastime here. We will see a little more when we actually go on to that Damodar Leela where he's tied to the wooden motor. Okay, so uh, Lord Brahma is mentioning, there is no doubt that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's telling this to Narad Muni, look, I've told about other avatars, now let me talk about the Supreme Lord himself. No, the background to this is also very, very important, very nice, right? The whole purpose of Parikshit Maharaj coming and sitting on the bank of Ganges is not to die in 7 days, but to hear about the glories of the Supreme Lord. You will see that every time he's asking a question, can you touch about Lord Krishna? And Parikshit, and when Sukadeva Goswami is actually explaining, he's clearing up everything else and then slowly going to Krishna Lila. He's touched upon Lord Krishna in the first canto. He's touched upon Lord Krishna in the second canto. He's not going to finish off. He's not going to elaborate on this. He's going to take it all the way to the 10th canto. Right. So all this is just a glimpse of what's to come in the 10th canto. So that's what Sukadeva Goswami is doing here. Okay. Anyways, we'll continue. All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. Okay, let's continue. The purports are very nice as usual. Please read the purports. Then also when the cowherd boys and their animals drank the poisoned water of river Yamuna, and after the Lord in his childhood revived them by his merciful glance, just to purify the water of the river Yamuna, he jumped into it as if playing and chastised the venomous Kalia snake, which was lurking there, its tongue emanating waves of poison. Who can perform such Herculean task but the Supreme Lord? I mean, beautiful Leela, the Kalia Leela. If you go to Vrindavan, don't miss the Kalia Ghat, wherein actually we sit and discuss on the Kalia Leela itself, right on the various Krishna Leela. So again, Kalia Leela is very, very sweet and beautiful. We all know about how Krishna waits for his uh, wait for wait waits for his mother to faint off, waits for all his friends to be bewildered, and then he comes on top of Kalia and dances. I was just hearing about Kali Leela a few days back, and um, uh, Prabhuji who was speaking about it, what very very beautifully put it, saying that as soon as Krishna came to the bank of Kalia, Yamuna is looking at Kalia and saying, "Ab tera kya hoga Kalia?" So the way he put it was very nice. So that's the background, right? The Kalya Leela is also so very beautiful. So every Leela of Krishna has its own glory that's connected. Okay, we'll continue on the Kalya Leela on the next sloka as well. On the very night of the chastisement of Kalya Leela, okay, everyone thinks, okay, finally Kalya is taken care of. When the wives of Kalya came and prayed to the Lord, they actually he did not kill Kalia, right? He actually sent away Kalia. Right after that, when the inhabitants of Rajabhumi were sleeping carefreely, uh, there was a forest fire ablaze due to dry leaves. And it appeared that all the inhabitants were sure to meet their death, but the Lord, along with Balarama, saved them simply by closing his eyes. Such was the superhuman activities of the Lord. So these two forest fires, there are twice this particular lila happens. In each case, Krishna saves the inhabitants of Vrindavan just by closing of eyelids and opening. Everyone was like, "Were we dreaming that there was fire?" When Krishna protects, there is no noise that comes out of it, right? So he just does it like this. So each time when Krishna does an activity, he's got different moods in which the activity happens. When the covered woman, Krishna's foster mother Yashoda, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. 2 inches, we all remember. And when she finally gave up, Lord Krishna, by and by opening his mouth, uh, okay, gave up. Lord Krishna, by and by, opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. Two different Leelas, distanced by less than 500 meters if you go to Vrindavan. I love this topic that we are discussing because this gives so much of pleasure remembering the Vrindavan yatras that we actually go. So if you look at this particular incident, so we are talking one is the Damodar Leela that happens at this place called Ukkal. Less than 500 meters away is the Brahmanda Ghat, where the second pastime happens, where Krishna actually opens his mouth and shows the Brahmanda to Mother Yashoda. So we all know about these two Leelas. What is our takeaway from the first Leela of the, the 2 inches? Our endeavor is followed by the mercy of the Lord. We get unlimited mercy by insufficient endeavor. But put in your endeavor. The first step to our spiritual life is our sincerity. When the mercy is flowing from so many devotees around us, the association of devotees, knowingly, unknowingly, the devotees are giving us so much mercy. Prabhupada's mercy is flowing unlimitedly in the form of his books and the Hare Krishna Kirtan uh, and the hundreds of ISKCON centers around the world. All we need to do is show a little bit of endeavor and grab onto the unlimited mercy that's flowing from the Supreme Lord Krishna or the Supreme Lord in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So grab this. Only then you will be able to tie up Lord Krishna. You will be able to surrender to Lord Krishna when you tie him up. Okay. The second pastime is also very beautiful, where Krishna is eating mud. He gets complained by his uh, friends to Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda is actually scolding. Like we have that poem, right? Johnny, Johnny, yes, Papa. So Mother Yashoda is like, Krishna, Krishna, Kanaya, Kanaya, open your mouth. What did you do now? He's like, मैंने तो कुछ नहीं किया मैया. ये all these friends are actually unnecessarily complaining about me just because I won a game, including Tauji. Balramji is come and complain to you, right? So he does all this, and when he opens the mouth, Mother Yashoda is seeing the entire creation inside his mouth. And then what is she seeing? She's also seeing herself, and she's seeing Krishna along with herself, and that Yashoda Maya inside the mouth of Krishna, seeing Krishna is also seeing the universe inside the mouth of Krishna, and she's like completely shaken up. She's like, what is all this? Within a few moments, Krishna actually removes everything from Mother Yashoda's confusion. And immediately, Mother Yashoda looks at Krishna and says, "Oh, my dear little son, you should be hungry. If I don't feed you, who will feed you? If I don't feed Krishna, how will Krishna stay? He's going to be hungry. He's going to become weak. He's going to cry." She immediately takes him on her lap and she starts feeding him milk. That's the glory of Krishna, right? So you get connected to him. So even though Mother Yashoda has seen Krishna as the Supreme Lord, she's attracted not to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, she's attracted to the person Krishna. And that is the glory of Krishna, right? So you don't, he ensures that he gives you that sweetness, that rasa is very, very dear, right? It's not the rasas move away from being the dasya bhava or the shanta bhava. It moves when it moves upper, you actually forget that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. We don't need to, we don't need to try acting in that way. If we are qualified, automatically we get into the Sakya, Vatsalya, or the Madhurya Bhav, the interactions of Krishna. Okay? We'll continue. Lord Krishna saved his foster father Nanda Maharaj from the fear of the demigod Varuna and released the cowherd boys from the caves of the mountain. For they were placed there by the son of Maya. Also, to the inhabitants of Vrindavan who were busy working during daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day. Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts are transcendental and certainly prove without any doubt about his godhood. Okay, again re-establishing the godhood position of the Supreme Lord. So the first pastime we all know, Nanda Maharaj one day wakes up a little earlier than usual and goes to uh, Yamuna to take a bath, and he is drowned. He's taken away by Varuna, and everyone, who went with Nanda Maharaj come and complain, and then Lord Krishna goes chastises Varuna Dev, brings back Nanda Maharaj. Varun Dev, like in many other pastimes, he also wanted to have darshan of Krishna. That's why he actually does something like this. So all these demigods are waiting for an opportunity to have darshan of Krishna, have service of Krishna directly, because in their position they have so many people worshipping them. Their position, they have so much of responsibility. In their position, all the homas and yagnas, some of them are happening on behalf of them. So for them, there is so much in the material world that sometimes they forget about their inferior position of worshipping the Supreme Lord. Right? We will actually see that in a few shlokas later as well, why Krishna actually comes here. Right? So Varun Dev is taken care of. Next, obviously, we can see the story of the snake demon here, in this case, who came as the mountain, Aghasur, all the uh, coward boys went into the cave. They were stuck, and then Krishna goes and revives them by killing the Aghasur. Wonderful pastimes are connected to this Aghasur pastimes, right? So just after Aghasur pastime, the Brahma Vimochan Leela happens. 1 year later, all the inhabitants come to know that Aghasur had come here. Meanwhile, everything in the Krishna Leela, that 1 year duration, is very, very beautiful. All the cows are getting attracted to their calves, or the mothers are getting attracted to their children. All the young girls are getting married to the young boys of Braj. Okay, very beautiful pastimes are all connected with this Aghasur pastimes. Okay, please go back, read the 10th canto for more details. Tasmaskandam, undoubtedly the sweetest. You can see. It will continue. When the coward men of Vrindavan, under instruction of Krishna, stopped offering sacrifices to the heavenly king Indra, Varuna is taken care of. Next is Indra. The whole tract of land known as Braj was threatened with being washed away by constant heavy rains for 7 days. Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy upon the inhabitants of Braj, held up the hill known as Govardhana with one hand only. In fact, one little finger on the left hand. Although he was only 7 years old, he did this to protect the animals from the onslaught of water. Okay, so Varun Dev, as I said, he wanted darshan of Krishna. In this case, Indra was, so Brahma Vimocha Leela. I skipped Lord Brahma is himself talking here, so we will see that a little later. Here in this case, the Govardhan Leela. Again, Govardhan non different from Krishna. When Krishna ensures all the Brajvasis are worshipping Govardhan instead of worshipping Indra for the rains, Indra was very, very affected. In fact, this particular pastime of the Govardhan Leela, or the chastisement of Indra, is also very, very important, because you have to understand your position irrespective of who you are, even within a spiritual organization. Materially, though you can understand, but whatever is your position, whatever is your power, is absolutely insignificant when it comes to Krishna. So if you don't use your position in the service of Krishna, at any moment it can be taken away, or you can be chastised, or you can fall down from that position. Okay, very important lesson that we learn from this Govardhan Leela, along with the beauty of that Leela itself, right? So how Krishna uh, holds up that mountain for hill for 7 days, the huge Govardhana hill. How does he come and gives instruction to the praying Indra, who comes with the Surabhi cow, to ensure that, okay, I have a cow with me, please scold me less, like sometimes the little children take someone along with them. Say, I know I did a mistake. Please don't scold me. I've got my father along with me, or someone my protector along with me, things like that, right? So Indra comes and prays. The Leela itself is beautiful when we hear about it, right? So when Krishna actually is holding, I'll just probably talk about one aspect of it. The entire Leela, most of us should be knowing here, when Krishna is holding for 7 days, 7 nights, everyone around is looking at Krishna, doing different things for Krishna, and everyone thinks Krishna is looking only at me. And through this, Mother Yashoda is like, "Arey, कन्या को तो हाथ दुखेगा ना?" He's holding up. So Madhumangal, the Brahmin poet friend of Krishna, in fact, the Gopa friend of Krishna, he comes to Mother Yashoda. Don't worry, Maya. My Brahma Tejas is actually helping Krishna to hold. You know, so Krishna is smiling. Krishna is actually smiling, saying that, "Look, my friend, look at my friends. They think I will protect. They know I will protect, and they also think that I need to be taken care of." Right? So every the villager, everyone in the village, they're actually using big sticks. Coward men usually carry those big sticks. No, they are using sticks and they are actually giving support to Krishna around that Govardhan, huge Govardhan. Everywhere they're putting stick and saying, okay, if at all Krishna's hands, are paining, the sticks will protect. If you look at the cartoon also, and Krishna shakes his hand a little bit while going out, all the sticks break. There's nothing that's needed, but it is our responsibility towards Krishna that we show that love and service to Krishna. Anyway, more on Govardhan pastime when we go to that pastime itself. We'll continue. When the Lord was engaged in his pastime of the Rasa dance in the forest of Vrindavan, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vrindavan with the sweet and melodious songs, a demon of the name Shankachuda, a rich follower of the treasurer of heaven Kuvera, kidnapped the damsel, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk. Now, if you actually read the purport of Srila Prabhupada, he actually differentiates this, like we saw earlier as well, right? So Mother Yashoda's pastime, wherein there was Damodar Leela and the Brahmanda Ghat Leela. Two Leelas mentioned simultaneously here also. The two Leelas or multi Leelas that are actually simultaneously mentioned. One part is, of course, the beautiful Rasa dance. The other part is where Shankachuda is kidnapped some of the damsels and the Lord goes and chops off his head. So these pastimes are not the same pastime. These are just happening at different instances, like many other pastimes. So you can read through the purport for more detail. We know some of these characters here. Maybe we don't know everyone. Let's read through. All these characters will reappear from the ninth and the 10th canto. All demoniac personalities like Pralamba, Dhenuka, Baka, Keshi, Arishtasura, Chanura, Mushtika, Kualya, Pida, Elephant, Kamsa, uh, Yavana, Narakasura, and Poundraka. Great marshals like Shalva, Dvivida monkey, the gorilla there, and Balwala. These are killed by Dvivida monkey and Balwala, I think, by Baldev. Dantavakra, the seven bulls, Sambhara, Viduratha, and Rukmi. These are either killed or some of them are just chastised. Are all, as also the great warriors like Kamboja, Matsya, Kuru, Srinjaya, and Ekaya would all fight vigorously. Some of these, or most of these, did not fight with Krishna Balram. Some of these are characters from Mahabharata. They fight with Arjuna and Bhima, either with the Lord Hari directly or with him under his names of Baladev, Arjuna, and Bhima, etc. And the demons, thus being killed, would attain either the impersonal Brahmajyoti or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha. Very nice to know, right? So if you look at uh, I think recently we were discussing this, right? So the Lord likes people who are devotedly serving the Lord, right? Likes people who are very serious, sincere, and always tatatam, nityam, they're serving the Lord. He likes people like that, or he's okay with personalities who are against the Lord, like Kamsa, always Krishna conscious in a negative way. Like Rukmi, he never liked Krishna. He was okay with anyone other than Krishna. Same thing with people, you know, like Dantavakra, people like, we already saw like your Ravanas and others. So most of them either absolutely don't like Krishna, they are against Krishna, or they're very favorable to Krishna. Very important point for us to, important thing for us to take away. You know, this is probably coming from Christianity. I don't know the exact source of this, but the essence is something that we can always take. It says, serve me hot or serve me cold. Lukewarm, I spit. I repeat, serve me hot, serve me cold, lukewarm, I spit. That means you're hot in your devotional service. Great, Lord likes it. You're extremely cold, like you're against the Lord. That means you don't want the Lord. The Lord is still okay because he can chastise you and bring you into the proper way of things. So you're on the extreme ends. If you're lukewarm in your service, right, he will spit you out. So not not necessarily spit you out, but don't do that. That means don't try traveling on material and spiritual platforms together. Don't pretend to be a devotee. You know, चलो यार 2 घंटे के लिए तो मैं आई एम डिवोटी पर डे अदर 22 hours मैं अपनी मनमानी करूंगा आई मीन आई विल डू व्हाट आई like to do. The more you do that, your 2 hours will be heavily affected. And that's very, very evident, right? So when you are actually busy with your office work or with your vacations, you with your the movies on the TV or the cricket matches, your 2 hours of chanting is completely disturbed. You're thinking about the work in office that you need to deliver. You're thinking about the boundary that the person missed or the catch that the person dropped. You're thinking about what is the vacation planning, how much, how should I save, how much. So your 2 hours of your chanting or reading or whatever is happening is completely disturbed. On the other extreme, if you're in association of devotees in a yatra, traveling to the different dhams, your 2 hours of chanting is beautiful just because I have had the darshan of Radha Madhav. I am standing in the queue for Jagannath darshan in Puri. I am taking bath in the Ganges. I'm actually visiting. I'm walking up the Barsana hill to have the mercy of Srimati Radharani. You know, your entire thinking in the 2 hours is surrender around the Lord. Even though the focus should be on the holy name, but the chanting itself is very, very attractive to you, right? So very important that we do not become those lukewarm devotees. If you're extremely bad, the Krishna will beat you up, will bring you to the path. you know it is said, like my grandmom used to say, no, you are a very nice devotee, Krishna will come. You personally will get association of Krishna. You're extremely bad Rakshasa, Krishna will come at least to kill you. So in extreme cases you will get darshan of Krishna. Otherwise engappa namakala eppadi pa kadaikum. Where are we getting the how are we getting? Because we are trying to be this also, we are trying to be right. So very important point that we are not serving Krishna lukewarm. Okay, we'll move on. We are almost finishing. We are finished with the Krishna Balram Leela. So now we can move on a little faster. We have a few shlokas to cover, but most of these incarnations as well we already know. So the Lord Himself, in His incarnation as the son of Satyavati, which is Vyasadeva, we just discussed that, will consider his compilation of the Vedic literature to be very difficult for the less intelligent persons with short lives, and thus he will divide the three of the Vedic knowledge into different branches according to the circumstances of the particular age. Whenever we start talking about spirituality, when in the very first classes, we would have asked this question for ourselves or to the person who's speaking, saying, what is this Vedas, the Vedanta, the Puranas, Itihasas, Upanishads? How do I put them all together? So yes, Vyasadeva as the literary incarnation of the Lord comes and helps us actually classify them, and he actually gives us. And then we are sitting right here, right now, talking about the topmost from the Vedic literature, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. There's nothing better than Srimad Bhagavatam that we will ever come across. Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'll keep it aside. Okay, when the atheist, after being well versed in the Vedic scientific knowledge, annihilate inhabitants of different planets, flying unseen in the sky on well-built rockets prepared by the great scientist Maya, the Lord will bewilder their minds by dressing himself attractively as Buddha and will preach on sub-religious principles. Again, this is not the same Buddha as Buddha that we know. Srila Jiva Goswami actually mentions that the Buddha that's being mentioned is from a different Kali Yuga. But the purpose of Buddha ji is when the Vedic knowledge itself is used for atheistic purposes, because it's got everything, right? So you can take care of everything in the material realm as well using the Vedic knowledge. When it is used for atheistic purposes, when it used for demoniac reasons, then Buddha will come and remove the Vedic knowledge and talk about sub-religious principles. Basically, it will talk about ahimsa, truthfulness, having no desires, taking care of family, and blah blah blah, which are subservient to the actual principle of the Vedas, which is serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You'll actually preach these, and then the various acharyas come, right from Adi Shankaracharya to all the Vaishnava acharyas who come and re-establish the Vedic knowledge in the way it has to be taken. And then, of course, we have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who comes us and gives us the most merciful the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the Kali Yuga. What happens in Kali Yuga? At the end of Kali Yuga, when there exists no topics on the subject of God, even at the residence of so-called saints and respectable gentlemen of the three higher castes, and when the power of government is transferred to the hands of ministers elected from the low-born Shudra class and those less than them, when nothing is known of the techniques of sacrifice, even by word, at that time, the Lord will appear as the supreme chastiser. Like I said, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra are the pramana. So it says when the Lord will appear, he is appearing here as Kalki. More details on Kalki will be followed in the further cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam as to whose son he is, Vishnuratha, where he is born, and all those details will actually come a little later. But you can see they are only like 5,000 years. We have another huge 4,27,000 years more to go in the Kali Yuga. And right now, many of these are actually getting affected. The so-called gentlemen of the society will not have Vedic knowledge. The so-called government will be elected by the low-born Shudras. Basically, when we say low-born Shudras, are people who are thinking only about livelihood, thinking only about eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They will elect the people in the government, and those are the people who will make the laws. So, where will be the law that you will have to mandatorily study Srimad Bhagavatam, mandatorily chant, mandatorily worship the Supreme Lord, mandatorily go to the temple, mandatorily do Abhishekam, Yagnas, Homas, and everything. So everything that the government will start implementing will be your Father's Day, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Wife's Day, and that is what the government will implement. It will not talk about, we need to respect Vyasadeva on Guru Purnima, or we need to respect the Supreme Lord on so and so days, and optional holidays. But these are mandatory fun days. So that difference the government, because educated class are not following the Vedic scripture. So this is what Brahmaji is telling. Why is he telling this to Narad Muni? We'll understand in a few more shlokas. But anyway, Kalki Avatar is done. So at the beginning of creation, so Yuga is ending. So there's again restarting going to happen. So he's concluding it with what is his position as well. At the beginning of creation, there are penance, myself, Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages, who sorry, who generate then okay. Then during the maintenance of the creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods and the controlling powers, and the kings of the different planets. But at the end, there is irreligion, and then Lord Shiva and the atheist full of anger, etc. All of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power, the Lord. Right now, he's coming back saying the Lord has empowered all of us. So we have spoken about Gunavataras. So beginning uh, creation needs a little bit of passion, right? The secondary creation here that we are talking about. So the Brahmaji takes care of it. The maintenance is the most important part, the biggest chunk. Creation is a small piece, annihilation is a small piece. The biggest chunk is your uh, maintenance. Lord Vishnu himself takes care of it, and Lord Shiva takes care of annihilation. So they are also empowered entities. Who can describe completely the powers of Lord Vishnu? Even the scientists who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so, because it is he only who, in his form of Trivikrama, moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet, Satyaloka, up to the neutral state of the three modes of material nature, and all were moved. So this is the Vamana Avatara or the Trivikrama Avatara, where the Lord actually makes a hole in the outer covering of the universe, correct? So why is it mentioned? Because it's not humanly possible for us to actually understand or describe all the glories or the energies or the powers of the Supreme Lord. Here, Maji is saying that, even scientists, very qualified scientists, not just the chota mota scientists that we have today, look, even the qualified scientists who probably can count all the grains of sand on the ocean or all the atoms in the universe, even they cannot describe all the pastimes of the Lord. What are you talking about, scientists? Neither I nor all the sages born before you know fully the omnipotent personality of God. So what can others who are born after us know about him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Shesha, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge, although he is describing the qualities of the Lord with 1,000 faces. Very nicely mentioned, right? So um, Lord has unlimited qualities. We all know. He does unlimited pastimes. We all know. So Ananshesh is using all his different modes to talk about different qualities and the pastimes of the Lord, and he's unable to finish them, right? So they're ever expanding. So the Lord says, so someone actually goes to the Lord. Uh, he says, I can talk about all your glories. Lord is really? You can talk about all my glories? For that, you need to enable something. What is it? You just give me 1,000 heads. I will talk about all your glories. Lord, really? Okay, chalo de diya. You go. You have 1,000 heads. Now you can speak. So he gets 1,000 heads, and in the 1,000 heads, he says, Lord's glories are unlimited. Lord is like, ye kya kiya? You are supposed to actually talk about the different glories. He says, I needed 1,000 mouths to tell that your glories cannot be spoken. That is the glory of the Lord. The qualities and the pastimes of the Lord are ever expanding. So there is never a dull moment. The spiritual atmosphere, right? Our Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur very nicely had a dainik, right? Or it did the daily newsletter. He said there's so much to write. I mean, every moment if we write a newspaper, even then we cannot finish the pastimes of the Lord. We cannot finish the glories of the Lord. That is the unlimited glories. So humanly not possible for us to understand, but come out of the human realm. What is it? But anyone who is specifically favored by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, due to unalloyed surrender unto the service of the Lord, can overcome the insurmountable ocean of illusion and can understand the Lord. But those who are attracted to this body, which is meant to be eaten at the end by dogs and jackals, cannot. I repeatedly mentioned humanly not possible, but once you surrender to the Lord, Sarva Dharma and Parityajya, once you actually do that, once you are actually surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then He gives you the specific understanding by which you can understand Him to the extent that you need to understand. Right? Dadami Buddhi Yogam. For that, what do you need to do? Satatam Kirtayantum. Yajantascha Radavata. Then Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yanamam Upayanti, using which you can actually go back to the Supreme Lord. Right? So the Lord gives you special favor. He gives you Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. I give him the intelligence by which he can come back to me. So the intelligence is something that the Lord gives us to whom? To the surrendered devotee. When you're a surrendered devotee, you will be able to understand everything about the Lord that is needed for you to understand. Right? Okay. We'll continue. O Narada, although the potencies of the Lord are unknowable and immeasurable, still, because we are all surrendered souls, we know how he acts through Yogamaya potencies. And similarly, the potencies of the Lord are also known to the all-powerful Shiva. the great king of the atheistic family, namely Prahlad Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu, his wife Shatarupa, his sons and daughters like Priyavrata, Uttanapada, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti, Prachinabarhi, Vibhu, Anga, and the father of Vena, uh, Maharaj Dhruva, Ikshvaku, Aila, Muchukunda, Maharaj Janaka, Gadi, Raghu, Ambarisha, Sagara, Gaya, Nahusha, Mandhata, Alarka, Shatadhanve, Anu, Rantideva, Bhishma, Bali, Amrutaraya, Dilipa, Saubhari, Uttanka, Shibi, Devala, Pipaladha, Sarasavada, Uddhava, Parasara, Bhurishena, Vibhishana, Hanuman, Sukadev Goswami, Arjuna, Arishtasena, Vidura, Shrutadeva, etc. Okay, very important, right? When I was reading, why are so many names? I mean, I can't even remember why are so many names mentioned. Just by hearing the names of the associates of the Lord, the devotees who are connected to the Lord, our attraction to the Lord increases. Just by hearing their name, we get more and more attracted to the Supreme Lord. And as we read through the rest of Srimad Bhagavatam, each of these personalities, each pastimes of these personalities will be mentioned. Okay, so what all are going to come? Look at all this, right? Right from Prahlad Maharaj to Dhruv Maharaj to Ikshvaku Amrisha, Amrish Maharaj, all of us know, right? So Anga, Veena, Ritu Maharaj, their son, everything will come in the fourth canto. So we should definitely, continue to read Srimad Bhagavatam to understand each of these personalities. And every time we understand about these personalities, when we hear about these personalities, our attraction towards the Supreme Lord increases. Why is that attraction important? When we get more and more attracted to the Lord, our sincerity increases. The most fundamental thing that we always have an issue with is our sincerity in spiritual life, sincerity in Krishna consciousness. That will get increases. Surrendered souls, even from groups leading sinful lives, such as such as women, the labor class, the mountaineers and the Siberians, or even the birds and the beasts, can also know about the signs of Godhead and become liberated from the clutches of the illusory energy by surrendering unto the pure devotees of the Lord by following in their footsteps in devotional service. People like us, people like me, who are not qualified to directly surrender to the Lord, who are not qualified to actually uh, you know, get association, get the mercy of Lord directly, are very, very fortunate if we can actually surrender onto the pure devotees of the Lord, like our Guru Maharaj, like Srila Prabhupada, like the entire Guru Parampara, like our Shiksha Gurus. If we are sincerely serving them, we are coming out of the Maya. And how do we know we are sincerely able to serve them? How we know that we are progressing in spiritual life? You're always excited that you're getting some devotional service to do. That shows that you're getting connected in the spiritual life, right? You're progressing in spiritual life because you are happy doing service, you're excited doing service. It's not just like chanting every day morning when you take your like you start your countdown starts. The countdown is not 1, 2, 3, 4. Your countdown is 16, 15, 14, 13 because I'm committed to do 16 rounds, 2 more rounds to go, 4 more rounds to go, 6 more rounds to go. You're reverse counting. That doesn't become your attitude. You're actually happy doing service, any service that you get. You're happily coming to temple. The more you visit the temple, the more you're serving the devotees of the Lord, the more you're excited to participate in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. More you're interested in each of these processes shows that you're progressing, you're surrendering to a pure devotee sincerely. And that is the test, that is your measurement. That is purely left to you. You decide, you take a call, right? What is realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss without grief. That is certainly the ultimate phase of the Supreme Enjoyer, the personality of Godhead. Is externally void, sorry, is eternally void of all disturbances and is fearless. He is He is complete consciousness as opposed to matter, uncontaminated and without distinction. He is the principal, primeval Lord of all causes and effect, in whom there is no sacrifice for fruitive activities, and in whom the illusory energy does not stand. Just the glory of the absolute supreme Brahman, who is the personality of Godhead. Okay, not the Brahman effulgence, not only the Paramatma feature of the Lord, but the supreme person. We need to understand that supreme person. When we realize him, then we are out of illusion. Okay, we should have this conception very clear that the 10th canto itself is called the summon woman, right? The supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. Srila Prabhupada is very clear. There is no doubts. There's no gray area there. In such a transcendental state, there is no need of artificial. When you surrender and the illusion goes away, there is no need of artificial control of mind, mental speculation, or meditation, as performed by the Gnanis and the Yogis. One gives up such processes as the heavenly king Indra foregoes the trouble to dig a well. Okay, the analogy is, you know, he doesn't need to dig a well for water. He's the king of rains, right? So like that, when you are in control of your transcendental state, you're not worried about your lower things of, oh, I need to control my mind. I need to do this. I will take a resolution from today. I will not drink Coca-Cola. Don't need to do. Automatically all these anarthas that you have in you will get wiped away once the more you start connecting with the Lord. So you don't need to forcefully impose things on you like the jnanis and the dhyana yogis and the yogis try to do. They're trying to meditate, they're trying to control, they're trying to get away from their society. They try to go into the forest, or they try to read this book plus this book plus this book. Neti, they are searching not this, not this, not this. Devotees don't have to do all that. So re-establishing the power of bhakti over any other marga or processes of attaining the Supreme Lord. Right? So this example of Indra and the well is very similar to the example that we see in Bhagavad Gita of a person who stays near a flowing water or a river doesn't have to worry about the about digging a well. Everything that a small ponds of water or buckets of water can fulfill, the water in the river can actually fulfill. The personality of Godhead is the supreme master of everything auspicious, because the results of whatever actions are performed by the living entity in either the material or spiritual existence are awarded by the Lord. As such, he is the ultimate benefactor. Every individual living entity is unborn, and therefore, even after the annihilation of the material elementary body, the living entity exists exactly like the air within the body. In simple, whatever you do is directly or indirectly granted by the Lord. If you do any demigod worship, like we just saw the Indra and the Varuna kind of a state, you're avidipurvakam. You're trying to serve the Lord, but in a reverse way. When you're directly serving the Lord, everything that you need is taken care of by the Lord. Uh, I probably have a pastime. I'll conclude with that as we go along. Probably we have another 6 minutes to cover up the next couple of shlokas. So we'll move on. I'll probably touch upon that, how we should understand what the Lord gives for us. My dear son, Narada, I have now explained in brief the Supreme Personality of God, who is creator of the manifested world. Without him, Hari, the Lord, there is no other cause of the phenomenal and human existence. So this is your 2.5 conclusion, the cause of all causes. Is saying, my dear son, please understand the Supreme Lord, he is the cause of all causes. Oh Narada, this science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand the science yourself. Right? So Narad Muni is hearing from Brahma is not like maybe Suntaho, right? He's given the purpose. Like all of us, when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, have to carry this purpose with us. What is it? We need to understand the Supreme Lord. We need to imbibe this knowledge, and we should also expand by giving it to others. What does he say? Please describe the signs of Godhead with determination and in a manner by which it will be quite possible for the human being to develop transcendental devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Hari. The super soul of every living being and the seven woman source of all energies. What is the duty, oh my dear Narada? Take this knowledge with you, take it back and give it to everyone. Right? The same purpose that we need to carry. You cannot be in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. You cannot be in Srila Prabhupada's movement if you're not preaching. So all of us, in some form or other, contribute to the preaching mission. You have to do it. That is your responsibility. It's not optional. The Lord's activities in association with different energies should be described, appreciated, heard in accordance with the teachings of the Supreme Lord. If this is done regularly with devotion and respect, one is sure to get out of the illusory energy of the Lord. Very nice, very important, very beautiful shloka. It has to be heard in association of devotees according to what is there in the parampara. Then everything that is illusory will be wiped off from you. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. In fact, the translations of the second canto, 7th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. Right. So let me stop here. So Sri Hari Prabhu, you can unmute others. So any devotee has any questions, comments on what we discussed, because we discussed quite a few things. So feel free to raise it. I'll try to understand.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, I have unmuted everyone. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. All these pastimes, if you for devotees who have read Bhagavad Gita, which I'm supposing most of you have done because we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. If you remember 4.9, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yoveti Tatvatha Yakva Deham Punarjanmanaiti Mameti Swarjana, right? What does the Lord say? Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam. All these appearance and activities of mine are transcendental in nature. A person who can he can actually take care of you, right? So, Evam Yoveti Tatva Tyaktva Deham. When you leave this body, Mameti Swarjana, you actually go back to Punarjanmanaiti. Okay, there's no more birth again. Okay, so there's a question here, Hare Krishna, Kalyani Mataji. So asking, can Kalki Avatar postpone his avatar? Scheduled incarnation, the very prepon. Okay, so same thing. It is scheduled to incarnate and do a certain activity. Lord will not prepone or postpone. He does not go beyond his rules, which is sets up for the avatars. He breaks the rule only when he comes as a Purna Avatara, and that is, he breaks only those rules which he can explain, which he can take care of. It is high time. Mataji, you can unmute and speak. It's not high time, Mataji. This very facility that we have today of sitting and chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, this is the wonderful benefit of Kali Yuga, because in other yugas, the effort is a lot more. Imagine you're given 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or a 1 lakh years. So imagine the amount of corruption your mind can go through. This is a very small piece for us. Kali Yuga is the blessed age because even though it's the most deteriorated, fallen, and whatever we want to call it, okay. So whatever we want to call it, but this age has got this wonderful facility for us to get connected, get out as quickly as possible. In fact, the higher planetary people, they actually pray saying that when I'm born again, let me be born in a Kali Yuga where I can associate with devotees. This mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara is unlimited. You should just use this opportunity and get out. Don't wait for Kalki Avatar. Kalki Avatar is not for us. Okay, so the Lord will not prepone. They are not demons strong enough. Like I said, they are not cold enough for the Lord to come and annihilate, not hot enough that he'll come and personally pick them and go. So our government is very, the governments of the world are demoniac. That's all. They're very in the fundamental first step of demoniac. There are another 100 steps to go. I know we are on time, but it's a weekend. So if any other devotee has any questions or comments, or Kalyani Mataji, I'm hoping you're fine with the answer that I gave. Okay. So can you take it as no more questions? So wonderful programs coming up, right? So Joshiri
Prabhuji,
Prabhu
I
will
have one question. Prabhuji, like some avatars like are not mentioned in Bhagavatam. That doesn't mean that they're not there, or how do we take it? For example, some people ask like Balaji, like Tirupati Srinivasa, is
Hmm.
not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. How do we understand that?
Prabhu, in simple, unlimited avatars, Anand Shesh cannot mention everything. Where is Bhagavatam going to mention everything? The version of Bhagavatam that we have is just a condensed version. The 18,000 shlokas, 12 cantos. It's a condensed version. It is said that the higher planetary systems, there is Bhagavatam with a lot more details, lot more incarnations. The Lord appears among vegetables. He appears among the animals. He appears among the human society, like what we see. He appears among the demigods. So not everything is mentioned. Not everything. I mean, whatever is mentioned, even a fraction of it, we adopt. We can get delivered. The Lord comes here to attract us. These pastimes, these incarnations are enough, ideally enough for us suffering in the Kali Yuga to go back. Okay, so that doesn't rule out the fact that there are other incarnations, but they are somewhere or other mentioned in the Guru Sadhu Shastra. They don't go beyond this. Whatever you see here today, it could be Lord Balaji, it could be Bindu Madhav in in Varanasi. If devotees have gone to Kashi, Varanasi, not had darshan of Bindu Madhav, you're missing something, right? So that's also mentioned in the Shastras. If you talk about Jagannath Puri, we go to Jagannath today, but there is this Nilachal. There used to be the Lord there, right? Lord Madhav being there, Nil Madhav before Jagannath. Those are mentioned in the Shastras. So that's why I said Guru Sadhu Shastra is the Pramana. If they mention it, accept it. It may not be only one of them, but they are all in sync. Is that fine, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Sure. Yes, thank you. And you said vegetables. I didn't. Lord appears. What exactly?
It is actually mentioned in one of the places. I can probably send you the reference, Prabhu, where the Lord actually can appear among vegetation, not necessarily
Okay.
vegetables, among
Okay.
vegetation.
Vegetation.
Like
Okay. You mean trees
we
and
can
yeah.
we can not probably connect to it. We probably can't understand. Oh, acha, he's appearing as this particular plant or a tree and talking to all the different fruits and vegetables which are around him and delivering them also. Why not? Why not? The Lord does is inconceivable, right? So he does a lot of things. It is mentioned. I'm sure I've read that about he appearing among vegetation. He's appearing among the animal, you know, kind of living entities. The incarnation that we know is something that we can connect to. That's the easier part to understand.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mataji, he appears among us as well, right? So the incarnation that we are talking, when Lord Ram or Lord Krishna, they look like human beings. They appear here, but they are not ordinary human beings. Among us, as among humans, Kalki Avatar will also be riding a horse, will be coming among us. Buddha or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Kali Yuga, yeah, we already spoke about Buddha. We already spoke about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Kali Yuga. We'll have Kalki coming up in Kali Yuga. These are all incarnations. He'll be among us. So if you can see my video, the personality here, the golden, wonderful personality here is not unknown. He has to be mentioned in the Shastras. There can be Channa Avatara, it can be hidden Avatara, but they will still be mentioned in the Shastras. Will he be among us today? I don't know. I don't. I mean, he will not come here to look at us and go back. You'll, he will. That he's doing as Paramatma anyways. He is coming here for the purpose of taking us back, and he's empowering people, empowering personalities. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, our own Guru Maharaj. These are all empowered personalities. These are not just ordinary personalities. Ordinary personalities cannot do what they have been able to achieve in the last 1 century, right? So generally talking about last 150, 120, 30 years, look at how much they have. These are all empowered entities. So he will run his show through his empowered devotees rather than he himself coming if he's not mentioned in the Shastras. Can he break the rule? He can break the rule. Will he break the rule? Ideally, no. Because he shouldn't come and establish a situation wherein we get confused, we get deviated. I'm sorry for taking more time than what was allotted. I usually don't like to do it, but Krishna's pastimes are like that. So I think we should stop here. The Guru Puja is happening in the temple. Go
Okay.
back to the temple. But thank you everyone for joining in. We have just seen a glimpse or the tip of the iceberg. The details of all these pastimes, the beauty of all these pastimes are there in the rest of Srimad Bhagavatam, which we should definitely not miss. Okay. Thank you everyone. So yeah, Shri Hari Prabhu, over to you.